recent falling out of Trisha Paytas and Hila Klein, many believe that they are finally seeing the true side of Trisha, and that the people that warned us about Trisha were right all along. And those are the people that we're going to be talking about in today's video. I'm Mackenzie, and let's get into the top 10 influencers who warned us about Trisha Paytas. But first, make sure to subscribe if you're new here. And at number 10, Hila Klein. The relationship between Trisha and Ethan started when Ethan made a video comparing influencers on Instagram to how they look in reality. And one of those people that he roasted in the video was Trisha. He even made a point to call them, quote, the spokesperson for Instagram versus reality. The two had an on and off feud that led them to becoming frenemies, and they started their hit podcast together about 6 months ago. But it's not been smooth sailing, and Ethan has exposed Trish on multiple occasions. Ethan has called out Trisha numerous times for making anti-Semitic comments on the podcast on multiple occasions. And even though Trisha claims they're joking, Ethan doesn't think so. Also, during one episode of the podcast, when the pair were having a fight, Trisha exposed that Ethan struggled with a pill addiction many years ago. And this is something that he's never spoken about online, so he was very mad about it. And lastly, Trisha would somewhat make fun of him for his Tourette's. Ethan brought up multiple times how he doesn't like when Trisha does this and brings up his tics, but they still continue to do so. And at number 9, DeFranco. Trisha and YouTuber DeFranco also got into a feud because for some reason, Trisha would not stop bashing him on their podcast. Ethan has been friends with DeFranco for years, so he would always defend Phil when Trish called him out for no good reason. Things even got nasty when Trish would talk about Phil's weight and talk about how Phil had gained weight and he adjusted his camera angles to make it seem like he didn't. This was crazy to hear because Trish touts himself as the poster child of body positivity, and Trisha constantly calls out anyone who body shames them. But for some reason, they decided to do it to Phil completely unprovoked. And at number 8, Hila Klein. Hila is the wife of Ethan and the fellow host on the H3 podcast. However, Hila and Trisha have a history of tension between them, mostly because Trisha frequently gets in the middle of Hila's and her brother Moses' family dynamic. Because to add even more drama into the mix, Trisha is engaged to Hila's brother Moses. Even though everyone can understand why Hila would be a bit apprehensive of Trisha and Moses dating, Trisha took this behavior as Hila not liking them. There was a huge blow during one of the Frenemies podcast episodes where Trisha brought up the question of if Hila liked them, and Ethan responded that Hila doesn't want to be brought up on the podcast. This turned into an all-out feud where Trisha unleashed on Hila and Ethan. Trisha even said in the heat of the moment that Moses didn't even like Hila or Ethan, and even called Hila the C word at one point as Trisha stormed out. And at number 7, Trevi Moran. Trevi Moran is an OG YouTuber along with Trisha and Shane Dawson. Trisha was called out for making a video with Shane and Trevi when they were both grown adults, but Trevi was underage. This controversial video of the three of them did also came up in Trisha's most recent feud with Nikita Dragun. Nikita brought up the inappropriate video along with tweets Trisha posted in 2014 insinuating that they wanted to sleep with Trevi when she became of age. As a response to the gross tweets, Trisha claimed that they were photoshopped tweets. But Trevi somewhat came to Nikita's defense against Trish and confirmed that the old tweets about Trevi were not photoshopped. And at number 6, the D'Amelio sisters. Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio got into a feud with Trisha Paytas last year when Trisha called out the sisters for being entitled brats in their dinner with the D'Amelios YouTube video. While the internet was already calling out the teens for their shady behavior, Trisha, who was 32 years old, decided to get into the drama and call out the sisters. And it's true that the D'Amelios were being disrespectful to their chef and they needed to get backlash so they would learn from the experience. However, Trisha did not need to insert themselves into the situation, and the sisters called out Trisha for attacking people half their age online. It's even more hypocritical now with the most recent Frenemies drama, because the way that Charlie and Dixie treated their chef is basically the same way Trisha was treating the H3 production crew. Halfway number 5, the DID community. Back in March of 2020, Trisha got into a feud with a dissociative identity disorder or DID YouTuber after Trisha claimed that they had DID. This was revealed in a video Trish uploaded called Meet My Alters, showcasing T, Trixie, Tyson, Tierney, and Tabolter as the alters. Trish was instantly met with backlash from the DID community for self-diagnosing and spreading misinformation. In a follow-up video, Paytas tried to convince everyone that their DID was real. In a video eating a spicy chicken sandwich, Trish took a bite out of the sandwich, put it back in the bag, and when one of their alters took over, they're shocked that someone else took a bite out of the sandwich. YouTuber Anthony Padilla even spoke about this and said, quote, claiming you have dissociative identity disorder is not a cool excuse to mock people in the community and call them crazy. crazy. And at number 4, Moses Hacmon. Trisha is engaged to fiance Moses Hacmon. He isn't an influencer, but he is a public figure known for his art. However, Trisha exposed on an episode of Frenemies they hit Moses at one point during a fight, and later pictures of his bruises were leaked. Apparently, while they were arguing, Trisha lashed out and hit him on the arm, and it was such a bad hit that it left quite a large bruise on his arm. Trisha said on the podcast that it was wrong and a quote weak moment in their relationship. Moses forgave Trish and they moved on, but it has been a cause of concern for many fans. In at number 3, Keemstar. Drama Alert host Keemstar has been feuding with Trisha on and off for years, and he talks about her often on his program and calls Trisha out for their problematic behavior. And to make his dislike of Trisha very clear, Keem has involved Trisha in his ongoing feud with H3's Ethan Klein. Keem tweeted out December of 2020, quote, "Ethan Klein has had the worst year ever. 1, lost subs, 2, lost sponsors, 3, lost respect, 4, gained weight, 5, now Trisha Paytas is his sister-in-law. I legitimately feel sorry for him. Ethan, if you see this, I hope you have a much better 2021. And of course, the goodwill was completely sarcastic in this tweet, and Keemstar thinks it's hilariously tragic that Trisha is now a part of Ethan's family. And at number 2, Nikita Dragun. Nikita Dragun is one of the most recent influencers to call out Trisha for their past problematic behavior. It all started when Nikita was promoting her upcoming reality TV show on Snapchat, and Trisha mocked the fact that the show was gonna be on Snapchat. After the two got into a bit of a tiff, Nikita tweeted out, quote, "Trisha, haven't you done enough to the trans community? There's no need to downplay mine or any trans women's accomplishments. Happy Trans Day of Visibility." After some more back and forth, Nikita also brought up the fact that Trisha hit Moses in the past, as well as bringing up Trisha's past use of blackface. Keemstar even chimed in at one point, giving Nikita even more fuel against Trish. And finally, at number 1, Nikocado Avocado. The feud between Nikocado and Trisha was the biggest drama in the mukbang community for months. Basically, Nick was a huge fan of Trish's, and when he was still small on the platform, Trish reached out to collab. He agreed, and even said that he was going to be flying from Colombia to LA, not solely for the collab, but it was a big part of the reason. And Nick told Trish the dates that he was flying in on multiple occasions. However, when Nick landed in LA and asked when they were going to meet up, Trish totally ghosted him, and he never heard from them again. Nick brought up the ghosting on his channel, which prompted tons of his fans to call out Trish on their channel. Trish ended up responding that they never intended to collab with Nick, and it wasn't even a set plan, just something they were talking about. But from the DMs that Nick shared, we know that's not true at all. After this, Trish was exposed as a liar and just a flat out mean person. So that's all for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts below. But before I go, I'm gonna shout out some comments from my video on YouTubers that ruined their own careers. Retro Raider said, "I'll buy a frenemies hoodie. I'll buy two." Yeah, if Trish is getting 0 of the profits, I'll buy one. I mean, if it's designed by Trevi Fresh and Hila, it'll be nice, so I'll consider it. Then Carlin said, "The dog I saved from another family was supposed to be a biter. Well, in 9 years, she's never bitten one person, and she's had toddlers crawling and kissing on her. I don't believe the dog was violent. That YouTuber is wrong for killing that sweet dog." I completely agree. I mean, it's a large part due to the owner. I mean, sometimes it's not, but I feel like a large part of it is, especially, you know, if the child was taunting Bowser, it's like, you know, only a few things are gonna happen if the dog is kind of stressed out and put to the test. And Cameron said, "The people who euthanize their dog make me mad because there was evidence of them letting their son mess with the dog's food while it was eating. They should have taught their son not to mess with the dog while it's eating. If the dog was so dangerous, why did they let their son near the dog during the photo shoot they did before euthanizing it?" I completely agree with all of those points. Like, food is a very sacred thing for a dog. Like, for my dog, I can't get anywhere near his food. He will growl at me like crazy, and that's fine. That's his boundary. It is what it is. And so if a child were putting their hands in his food, I mean, I'm sure even my dog might take a nip at it. Maybe they wouldn't bite him, but you know what I mean? Dogs have their boundaries, and you know, they can't just have free reign for anything to happen to them. Alright guys, that's all for the video today. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you made it all the way here, if you liked the video and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel below. I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith. Make sure to check us out on social media, and I'll catch you all in the next one.